The blizzard came down like a vengeful spirit over the Dakota Badlands, turning the world into a howling white void where sky and earth became one. Anna Hesse stumbled through drifts that reached past her knees, her arms wrapped around the bundle pressed against her chest, her daughter Miriam, 3 days old, born in the filthy back room of Jim Mallory's ranch house, while 2 other women held her hands and whispered prayers in languages she barely understood. The baby had stopped crying an hour ago. That terrified Anna more than the cold, more than the blood still seeping through the rags stuffed into her underclothes, more than the certainty that Jim and his men would be tracking her the moment the storm cleared. A quiet baby was a dead baby. She knew that much from the crossing from Hamburg when Greta's infant son had grown still in the ship's hold, and Greta had screamed until the sailors came to take the tiny body away. Greta. Anna's chest tightened with more than cold. Her friend had stood beside her on the Hamburg docks 16 months ago, both of them clutching the letters from Mrs. Catherine Morrison's Christian Women's Settlement Society, both believing the promises of respectable work as housekeepers and seamstresses in the American frontier. They'd held hands during the Atlantic crossing when the ship pitched in storms. They'd shared a straw mattress in the New York boarding house, where the Society's agent had collected them with 7 other women, all immigrants, all alone. Greta had realized the truth first, 3 days into the wagon journey west. She'd found the ledger in the driver's coat while he slept pages of names, ages, physical descriptions, and prices. When she'd shown Anna, her hands had trembled so badly the pencil marks had blurred. "We're not going to any settlement house," Greta had whispered in German. "We're merchandise." They'd tried to run that night. The men had caught Greta within 100 yards. Anna had made it to a creek before Jim Mallory himself had dragged her back by her hair. He'd beaten Greta unconscious in front of the others as a lesson, then locked her in the wagon's cage box for 2 days without water. Anna had last seen Greta at the ranch 3 months ago, before Jim had sold her to a mining camp in the Black Hills. Greta's eyes had been empty by then, all the light gone out of them. She hadn't even said goodbye. Now Anna's own daughter was going silent, and the white death was closing in. Her boot caught on something buried under the snow, a root, a stone, it didn't matter. She pitched forward, twisting her body to take the impact on her shoulder rather than crush Miriam. Pain exploded through her chest, where Jim had kicked her 2 days ago when she'd refused to let Dr. Remy examine the baby. The doctor had wanted to take Miriam, immediately said there were buyers who paid premium prices for infants. Anna had refused. Jim had beaten her. Dr. Remy had simply smiled that cold smile and said, "The baby will be easier to manage after you've broken her spirit. Take your time, James." She'd escaped during the blizzard's first fury when even Jim's men couldn't track through the whiteout. She'd grabbed Miriam 2 blankets and the small leather-bound ledger she'd found hidden in Dr. Remy's medical bag, the real ledger, not the dummy one they kept in the ranch office. She didn't know why she'd taken it. Maybe for evidence, maybe just for revenge. Now lying in the snow with her daughter silent against her chest, Anna realized she was going to die out here. She'd escaped Jim Mallory's trafficking ring only to freeze to death in a Dakota blizzard. Miriam would never know freedom. She'd never know anything at all. "I'm sorry," Anna whispered in German, her lips numb. "I tried, little one. I tried." The wind shrieked in response. Then through the white curtain, a shape materialized. For a moment, Anna thought it was Death himself come to claim them. But Death didn't ride a paint horse or wear buckskin decorated with quill work. Death didn't have a human face, bronze-skinned and sharp-featured with black hair whipping in the wind. The rider dismounted in one fluid motion. Anna tried to scramble backward, but her body wouldn't obey. The man knelt beside her, and she saw his eyes dark and cautious, but not cruel. Not like Jim's eyes. Not like Dr. Remy's. "Please," she managed in English, "my baby. Help my baby." The man's gaze dropped to the bundle in her arms. His expression changed, something like pain flickering across his features. He reached for Miriam. Every maternal instinct in Anna screamed at her to pull away, but she was so cold, so tired, and Miriam was so still. The man unwrapped the blankets with quick, efficient movements. Miriam's lips were blue. Her skin had taken on a grayish tint. She wasn't breathing. The man Wakiza, though Anna didn't know his name, yet felt a cold fist close around his heart. The baby looked exactly like his niece Ayasha had looked 2 winters ago when the fever had taken her. He'd ridden through a blizzard then too, trying to reach the doctor in Whitewood. Dr. Klaus Remy had been at his practice, warm and comfortable, and had refused to come. "I don't treat savages," Remy had said, closing the door in Wakiza's face. Ayasha had died that night. She'd been 4 years old. Now Wakiza held another dying baby, and this time there was no doctor to refuse him. This time he would have to be enough. He stripped off his thick buffalo fur coat and laid it on the snow. Working quickly despite his numb fingers, he placed the baby on the fur and began pressing on her tiny chest with 2 fingers. Not the hard compressions his grandmother Istas used for drowning victims, but gentle rhythmic pressure. Nothing. He grabbed a rabbit fur from his medicine bundle and began massaging the baby's hands and feet, trying to force warmth back into the extremities. Still nothing. "The stones," he muttered in Lakota. His fire kit was useless in the blizzard, but he had 2 river stones he'd kept warm against his body. He pulled them out, wrapped them quickly in leather, and positioned them against the baby's sides. The white mother was watching him with desperate eyes, shivering violently. If he didn't get them both to shelter soon, they'd both be dead within the hour. But first the baby. Wakiza bent close to the infant's face and blew warm breath across her nose and mouth, not into her airway, which could damage it, but across her face to warm the skin. Once, twice, 3 times. He rubbed her chest in slow circles through the thin dress someone had put on her. Nothing. "Breathe," he commanded in Lakota. "Breathe, little one. This is not your day to walk the spirit road." He opened his shirt and pressed the baby's naked body against his chest, skin to skin, then wrapped them both in the buffalo fur. The warmth of his body would either revive her, or she was already too far gone. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a shudder, a tiny gasp, a weak, mewling cry. Wakiza closed his eyes briefly. "Thank you," he whispered to the spirits. He looked at the white mother. She was conscious, but fading fast. He could see the decision forming in her eyes, relief that her baby lived, acceptance that she herself would die. "No," Wakiza said firmly in English. "You come too." He bundled the baby carefully, then hoisted the woman onto his horse. She weighed almost nothing, and he could see old bruises on her face, fresh bruises on her arms. Someone had hurt this woman badly and recently. Whoever had done this, Wakiza decided had made an enemy today. He mounted behind her, holding her upright with one arm, while keeping the baby secure between them. His winter camp was only 2 miles north, tucked into a canyon where his grandmother's lodge stood protected from the worst of the wind. As he rode, the woman mumbled something in a language he didn't recognize. German, though he had no way of knowing that. Then in broken English, "Jim Mallory will come. For us." Wakiza knew that name. Everyone in the territory knew Jim Mallory, successful rancher, influential, in Whitewood, generous donor to the town's church and school. Wakiza also knew things about Mallory that the white townspeople didn't know or didn't want to know. Stories from other tribes about women who disappeared, about a trade in human beings that no one would investigate because Mallory was rich and the victims were immigrants and Indians. If this woman had escaped from Jim Mallory, then she was in more danger than just the blizzard. But that was a problem for later. Right now, Wakiza had 2 lives to save. The canyon walls rose around them, cutting the wind's fury. His grandmother's lodge appeared through the snow smoke rising from the smoke hole. The old woman herself stood in the entrance, as if she'd known he was coming. "Grandmother," Wakiza called in Lakota. "I need your healing hands." Istas took one look at the woman and baby and nodded. "Bring them inside quickly, the baby first." Part 2. The Lodge of Spirits. The lodge was warm, blessedly, impossibly warm. Anna felt consciousness sliding away from her as the Lakota warrior carried her inside, felt strong hands laying her on soft furs, felt the blissful heat of a fire somewhere nearby. She tried to hold on to awareness, tried to keep watch over Miriam, but her body had reached its limit. She dreamed of Hamburg, of the apartment she'd shared with her mother before the influenza had taken her. She dreamed of Greta's laugh, bright and free, before the darkness had consumed it. She dreamed of the ship of America, of promises that had curdled into nightmares. When she woke, yellow firelight danced on buffalo hide walls. An elderly Indian woman sat beside her, grinding something in a stone bowl. The woman's face was deeply lined, her hair white as the snow outside, but her eyes were sharp and kind. "Your baby lives," the woman said in careful English. "She is strong." Anna tried to sit up and gasped as pain lanced through her ribs. The old woman put a firm hand on her shoulder. "You stay still. Broken bones inside. Need time to heal." "Miriam," Anna managed. "Her name is Miriam." "Mir-em," the old woman repeated slowly, testing the syllables. "Good name. She sleeps there." She pointed to a cradleboard propped near the fire, and Anna could see her daughter's tiny face, peaceful in sleep. Tears streamed down Anna's cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." The old woman nodded gravely. "I am Istas. My grandson Wakiza brought you here. You are safe in this lodge." Safe. Anna almost laughed at the word. She would never be safe again, not as long as Jim Mallory and Dr. Remy were alive. But she was alive, and Miriam was alive, and for this moment in this warm lodge, that was enough. Over the next 2 days, as the blizzard raged itself out, Anna learned about her rescuers. Istas spoke broken English, learned from traders and missionaries. Wakiza spoke better English, learned from a teacher at the reservation school before he'd refused to go anymore. They were Lakota, part of a band that had refused to settle on the reservation, moving through their traditional territories, despite the government's demands. "The white man's boundaries mean nothing to us," Wakiza said one evening as they shared a meal of elk stew. "The land does not belong to anyone. We belong to the land." Anna, still weak but recovering, fed Miriam and listened. She'd never had a conversation like this before, never really talked to an Indian as a person. The newspapers in New York had called them savages, criminals, obstacles to civilization. Jim Mallory had spoken of them with casual contempt. But Istas had saved Miriam's life, with knowledge passed down through generations. Wakiza had risked the blizzard to carry them to safety. They'd shared food, warmth, and shelter without asking for anything in return. "Why did you help me?" Anna asked on the 3rd day, when she was strong enough to sit up for longer periods. Wakiza was repairing a snowshoe near the fire. He didn't look at her when he answered. 2 winters ago, my niece got sick. Fever. I rode to Whitewood to bring the white doctor. He refused to come, said he doesn't treat Indians. His hand stilled on the snowshoe. Ayasha died that night. She was 4 years old. Anna's breath caught. "I'm so sorry." The doctor's name was Klaus Remy. The name hit Anna like a physical blow. She must have made a sound because Wakiza looked up sharply. "You know this name?" It wasn't a question. Anna nodded slowly. Her hand instinctively went to the bundle of her possessions that Istas had dried and organized near her sleeping furs. The ledger was there, small and innocuous, bound in brown leather. Dr. Remy, Anna said carefully, is not just a doctor. He is the man who runs the trafficking operation. Jim Mallory works for him. Wakiza's expression darkened. Tell me. So Anna told him everything. About the fake settlement society, the letters promising respectable work, the reality of the ranch, where women were kept in locked rooms and sold to mining camp saloons and wealthy men's households. About Dr. Remy's visits to inspect the merchandise, his cold calculations about which women would bring the highest prices. About the ledger she'd stolen filled with names, locations, prices, and buyers. There are codes in it, Anna said. Symbols I don't understand. But the names are clear. Greta Hansen sold to Black Hills Mining Camp 6. Marie Deschamps sold to HT in Cheyenne. Lucia Rossi sold to KM in Deadwood. Her voice broke. 17 women in the last year alone. And that's just one ledger. Wakiza took the ledger when she offered it, handling it carefully. He studied the pages, his jaw tight. This is evidence. This could destroy them. If anyone would listen, Anna said bitterly. I'm a German immigrant with no papers, no family, no proof of anything, except that I ran away from a respectable rancher. Dr. Remy is trusted in Whitewood. Jim Mallory gives money to the church. Who would believe me? Someone will believe, Istas said, from where she was preparing medicine. Truth has power. It waits for the right time. Anna wanted to believe her, but she'd seen too much to have faith in justice. Still, she had the ledger, and she had allies, now unexpected as they were. That night, when Miriam woke crying, Wakiza surprised Anna by picking up the baby with surprising gentleness. He walked her around the lodge, speaking to her in Lakota in a low, soothing voice. The baby quieted in his arms. You're good with her, Anna said softly. I helped care for Ayasha. Wakiza's voice was distant. My sister, Yellow Hawk's daughter. Yellow Hawk blamed himself when she died. Said he should have forced the doctor to come, should have fought harder. He left the band after that. He works as a scout for the army now. There was pain in his voice, and something else, disappointment, maybe even betrayal. You miss him. I miss who he used to be. Anna understood that. She missed who she used to be too, the girl in Hamburg who'd believed in new beginnings, in promised lands, in the goodness of people. That girl had died somewhere, on the long journey west. But maybe she thought, as she watched Wakiza rock her daughter, maybe something new could grow in that girl's place. Something harder, wiser, but still capable of trust. Outside, the storm was ending, and with the clearing skies would come danger. Jim Mallory would be looking for her, and Jim Mallory always found what he was looking for. Part 3. The Hunter and the Hunted. The morning dawned clear and brutally cold. Wakiza stood at the canyon's rim, scanning the white landscape. He'd seen smoke rising from the south yesterday. Someone had a camp out there, maybe 5 miles away. Could be trappers. Could be Mallory's men. He descended to the lodge to find Anna awake and trying to stand. She made it halfway up before her legs buckled. Istas caught her with surprising strength for an elderly woman. You cannot run yet, Istas said firmly. Your body needs more time. I don't have more time. Anna's voice was tight with fear. Jim has trackers. He'll find this place. Let him come, Wakiza said from the doorway. I am not afraid of Jim Mallory. You should be. Anna's eyes were wide. He has 6 men. They all carry Winchesters. And Dr. Remy. She stopped, shaking her head. Dr. Remy is worse. He's smart, patient. He doesn't just react. He plans. Wakiza considered this. He'd expected simple cruelty from men like Mallory, the kind of violence that was predictable, almost honest in its brutality. But organized intelligence was more dangerous. Then we leave, he decided. There's a homestead 8 miles northeast, Carl Virgil's place. He's a good man. He'll help. A white man will help us. Anna's skepticism was obvious. Carl lost his leg at Shiloh, lost his faith in causes after that. He doesn't care about politics or race, just wants to be left alone to work his land. He'll help because it's right and because he hates men like Mallory who hide behind respectability. Istas was already packing supplies, dried meat, herbs, warm furs. She worked with the efficiency of someone who'd fled danger many times before. As she packed, she caught Wakiza's eye and spoke in Lakota. The woman and baby will slow you down. I know. You are bringing danger to Carl's door. I know that too. And still you help them. Grandmother, if I didn't help them, Ayasha's death would mean nothing. Remy would win again. Istas studied her grandson's face, then nodded slowly. Your grandfather would be proud. He always said the measure of a man is who he protects when protection costs him something. They left within the hour. Istas stayed behind, too old for hard travel, she said, and someone needed to tend the lodge. But Wakiza saw the truth. She was staying to mislead any trackers who came to give them false trails to follow. Anna rode in front of Wakiza on the paint horse Miriam bundled against her chest. The cold was fierce, but the baby stayed warm, wrapped in rabbit fur and buffalo hide. They traveled northeast, following a frozen creek bed that left minimal tracks. 2 hours into the journey, Wakiza held up his hand. Stop. Anna froze. What is it? Riders, behind us. Maybe 2 miles. How can you possibly know that? I can feel it. Wakiza turned the horse off the creek bed into rougher terrain, where rock outcroppings would hide their tracks. There. He pointed to a dense thicket of pine. We wait. They dismounted in silence. Wakiza covered the horse's nose to keep it from whickering. Anna held Miriam close, praying the baby wouldn't choose this moment to cry. 10 minutes later, they heard the crunch of hooves in snow. Male voices, distant but clear. Told you we should have waited for better light. That was Scarface Sam Jim's foreman. Anna recognized the nasal whine of his voice. And I told you Mallory wants them found today? A second voice, unfamiliar. The doc's real angry about that ledger. Says it's got information that could hang all of us. It's probably just inventory, lists of girls and buyers. Then why's Remy so worried? I'm telling you, Sam, there's something else in that book, something bigger. The voices faded as the riders passed. Wakiza waited a full 20 minutes before emerging from the pines. They're hunting us hard, he said quietly. Anna's face was pale. What could be in the ledger that scares Remy so much? Let me see it again. They couldn't risk a fire, so Wakiza examined the ledger in the cold sunlight. Page after page of names, dates, prices. But there near the back were pages covered in symbols. Not random scribbles, but methodical notation. Letters paired with numbers. Initials followed by locations and large sums of money. These aren't just buyers, Wakiza said slowly. These are partners, investors. Look, KR and someone with initials FR equal shares in the operation. JM gets 10%. The rest of these names get smaller cuts. Anna leaned over his shoulder, her breath warm on his neck. He was suddenly very aware of her closeness, the faint scent of smoke and pine in her hair. He pushed the thought away. FR, Anna murmured. Who could that be? Someone with money and influence. Someone no one would suspect. Wakiza closed the ledger carefully. This is bigger than a trafficking ring. This is organized crime with protected partners. We need to get this to someone in authority. Who? Wakiza's laugh was bitter. The sheriff in Whitewood is Jim Mallory's cousin. Deputy U.S. Marshals are appointed by men who probably take money from Remy. There is no authority that will help people like us. Anna sagged against him, and he could feel her exhaustion. Then what do? We survive. We find Carl. We figure out the rest from there. They rode on through the afternoon. The sun was sinking toward the horizon when Miriam began to fuss. Anna tried to soothe her, but the baby was hungry and cold and had reached her limit. We need to stop, Anna said desperately. Just for a few minutes. I need to feed her. Wakiza nodded and found a spot where a fallen tree created a windbreak. Anna settled in the snow and began to nurse Miriam, modestly arranging the furs to shield herself. Wakiza turned away to give her privacy, scanning the landscape for danger. That's when he saw it, another plume of smoke, this one northeast. Right where Carl's homestead should be. No, he breathed. What's wrong? Carl's place is on fire. Part 4. Ashes and Alliance. They arrived at Carl Virgil's homestead as the last light drained from the sky. The cabin was a smoking ruin, flames still licking at a few stubborn timbers. The barn stood untouched, they'd burned only the house. Wakiza dismounted quickly, his rifle ready. Stay with the horse. But Anna was already sliding down, Miriam clutched to her chest. Carl might be inside. He might need help. If he's inside that, he's past help. They found Carl 50 yards from the cabin, crawling through the snow. His wooden leg had been smashed, splinters of pine and leather straps scattered behind him. His face was a mask of blood. Carl, Wakiza knelt beside him. What happened? Mallory's men. Carl gasped. Came asking about a German woman and a baby. When I said I hadn't seen anyone, they called me a liar. Said a red-skin lover would hide runaways. He coughed and blood speckled the snow. Sorry, Wakiza. Didn't mean to use that word. Just telling you what they said. I don't care about words. Can you stand? Not with this leg gone. They took an axe to it. Carl's eyes focused on Anna. You're the one they're hunting. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry they hurt you. Carl actually laughed, though it turned into another cough. Don't apologize for other men's evil, girl. I've met Jim Mallory. He's the kind of man who makes me ashamed to share a skin color. He grabbed Wakiza's arm. Eric Larson, the Swedish boy who runs the Telegraph in Whitewood. He's been collecting evidence against Remy and Mallory for months. His sister disappeared last year, bought from Remy's ring by a saloon in Deadwood. Eric's been feeding information to a territorial investigator in Rapid City. Can we trust this investigator? Anna asked. Tom Brennan's his name. Former Pinkerton man. Honest as they come. Carl grimaced in pain. But you'll never get a telegram out of Whitewood. Mallory will have men watching the telegraph office. Wakiza thought quickly. There's another telegraph in Spearfish, 20 miles north. Through open country where we'll be easy to track, Anna said. Do you have a better idea? She didn't. They got Carl into the barn, which had a small room the fire hadn't touched. Anna tended his wounds with supplies from Wakiza's medicine bundle, while the warrior fashioned a crude replacement leg from barrel staves and leather straps. It wouldn't be comfortable, but it would let Carl walk. As Anna cleaned Carl's head wound, he studied her face. You've got the look, he said quietly. What look? The look of someone who's seen the devil and lived to tell about it. Carl's eyes were sad. I saw that look in a mirror for years after Shiloh. After I watched my friends die in a pointless charge over ground that didn't matter for causes that weren't worth their blood. Anna's hand stilled. How did you stop seeing it? I didn't. I just learned to live with it. And I promised myself I'd never stand by again when I could act. He nodded toward Miriam, asleep in a nest of furs. That baby is why you kept fighting, isn't she? She's everything. Anna's voice was fierce. She's the only purely good thing in my life. Then you fight for her, and you don't apologize for surviving. That night in the cold barn with a broken veteran and a Lakota warrior, Anna Hesse finally felt something shift inside her. The shame that had lived in her chest since Jim Mallory's wagon, the toxic belief that somehow she'd deserved this, that she'd been stupid or weak, began to crack. She hadn't been weak. She'd been lied to by predators who were experts at deception. She hadn't deserved abuse. No one deserved what Remy and Mallory had done. And she wasn't finished fighting. Wakiza must have seen something change in her expression because he nodded slightly, a warrior's acknowledgement of another warrior's resolve. Tomorrow we ride for spearfish, he said. Carl, can you shoot? Better with one leg than most men with two. Good, because they're going to come at us hard. They came at dawn. Wakiza heard the horse's first multiple riders moving fast. He was already up, rifle in hand, when the first shot cracked through the morning air. Barn, he shouted. Get to the barn. Anna grabbed Miriam and ran. Carl hobbled after her on his makeshift leg. Wakiza laid down covering fire, and the distinctive crack of his Winchester echoed across the snow. In the growing light, Anna could see them 5 riders spreading out to surround the barn, and leading them on a big roan horse was Jim Mallory himself. Anna. Jim's voice carried across the distance. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just give us the ledger and we'll let you go. Liar. Anna screamed back, surprising herself with her fury. You'll kill us all. Only if you make me. A bullet splintered wood 6 inches from Anna's head. She ducked back into the barn, heart hammering. Wakiza had taken position at a window rifle trained on the riders. He's lying. They can't leave witnesses. Not after killing Carl or trying to. So what do? We make them pay for every inch. Wakiza squeezed off a shot. One of the riders yelped and fell from his horse. 4 left. Carl had dragged himself to another window, his own rifle ready. I've got the one flanking right. Wait for my signal, Wakiza said. Let them get closer. Make every shot count. The next few minutes were chaos. Gunfire, smoke, the smell of burning powder. Anna pressed herself against the wall, shielding Miriam with her body. The baby was crying now, terrified by the noise, but Anna couldn't do anything except hold her and pray. Through the gun smoke, Anna saw something that made her blood run cold. One of the riders was circling toward the back of the barn, where there was no window, no way to defend. Wakiza behind. He spun, but too late. The barn's back door exploded inward. Scarface Sam stood framed in the doorway, his Winchester leveled at Anna. Drop the rifle, Indian, Sam snarled. Or the woman dies. Wakiza froze his rifle, still aimed at the doorway. His mind raced through options, calculating angles and odds. Could he drop Sam before the man fired? Possibly. But possibly wasn't certainty, and Anna and the baby were directly in Sam's line of fire. Anna made the choice for him. She grabbed a pitchfork leaning against the wall and drove it forward with all her strength. The tines caught Sam in the thigh. He screamed, and his shot went wild, punching through the barn roof. Wakiza's shot didn't go wild. Sam dropped. But the gunfire had drawn the others. Jim Mallory kicked his horse forward, and 2 remaining men flanked him. They had the barn surrounded now, and it was only a matter of time before they either burned them out or simply waited for ammunition to run low. There's a root cellar, Carl gasped. He'd taken a bullet in the shoulder but was still conscious. Under the barn floor. Trap door hidden under the hay pile. Tunnel leads out to the creek bed 50 yards north. Old escape route from my army days. I'm a paranoid bastard. Can you walk? Wakiza asked. Can you carry me? Yes. Then I can walk. They moved fast. Wakiza pushed aside the hay to reveal the trap door. Below, narrow earthen stairs descended into darkness. Anna went first, clutching Miriam, feeling her way down stone steps. Wakiza helped Carl, then followed, pulling the trap door shut above them. The tunnel was barely wide enough for one person. They crawled through absolute darkness, dirt crumbling around them, the baby's cries echoing off stone walls. Anna's broken ribs screamed with every movement, but she pushed forward. Behind her, she could hear Carl's labored breathing and Wakiza's quiet encouragement. After an eternity, cold air touched Anna's face. She pushed through brush at the tunnel's end and emerged in the creek bed. Snow, freedom, the possibility of survival. Wakiza emerged next, then helped Carl out. Above them on the ridge, they could hear shouting. Jim and his men had discovered the tunnel. We run, Wakiza said simply. Carl handed Wakiza his rifle. You run, I'll buy time. Carl, I'm done running, boy. This is my stand. Get that woman and baby to safety. Get that ledger to Eric Larson. Make these bastards pay. Wakiza locked eyes with the old veteran. A moment of understanding passed between them, two warriors, different tribes, same code. It will be remembered, Wakiza said in Lakota. Tell them I died well, Carl replied. They ran. Behind them, Carl Virgil took position in the creek bed and began to fire. His shots echoed across the Dakota morning, each one buying precious seconds. The last thing Anna heard before they plunged into the pine forest was Carl's voice, raised in a Union battle cry from a war that had ended a decade ago, but had never really stopped. Part 5. The Long March. They traveled through the day and into the night, moving northeast toward Spearfish. Wakiza set a brutal pace, stopping only when Miriam needed to nurse, or when they absolutely had to rest. Anna's body screamed in protest. Her ribs were agony. Her legs trembled with exhaustion, but she kept moving. Carl's sacrifice had bought them time, but it couldn't last forever. Jim Mallory was relentless, and now he was angry. As they walked through the darkness, Wakiza told Anna about the land they crossed. He pointed out constellations and explained their stories, not the Greek myths Anna had learned in school, but Lakota stories of warriors and spirits of honor and sacrifice. That's the fallen star, he said, pointing to a bright point of light. It reminds us that even those who fall can light the way for others. Like Carl, Anna said softly. Like Carl. They found shelter in the abandoned trapper's cabin just before dawn. The roof leaked and the walls were half collapsed, but it blocked the wind. Wakiza built a tiny fire using dried moss and deadwood, keeping the smoke minimal. Anna fed Miriam and settled her to sleep, then collapsed against the wall. Every muscle in her body hurt. But they'd made it through another day. That had to count for something. Let me see your ribs, Wakiza said. Anna hesitated. The idea of undressing in front of him made her deeply uncomfortable, not from fear, which surprised her, but from an awareness that confused her. She barely knew this man. He was Lakota, an Indian, someone her culture had taught her to fear and despise. But he'd saved her life. Saved Miriam's life. He'd shown her more genuine kindness than any white man she'd encountered in America. I won't hurt you, Wakiza said quietly, as if he'd read her thoughts. Anna slowly unbuttoned her dress and chemise, revealing the massive bruises across her ribs. Wakiza's jaw tightened. Jim did this. He's done worse to others. Wakiza gently probed her ribs. His hands were surprisingly gentle, careful not to cause unnecessary pain. 2 are cracked, maybe 3. They'll heal, but you need rest. Rest is a luxury I can't afford. Then you'll hurt until this is over. He pulled out a pouch of herbs and began mixing a poultice. This will help with pain and swelling. As he worked, Anna studied his face. Strong features, the kind that looked carved from stone. But there was kindness in his eyes and grief. She thought of Ayasha, the niece he'd lost. Of Yellow Hawk, the brother-in-law who'd left the band. Of all the losses that marked this man's life, as much as scars marked his hands. "Why are you doing this?" she asked suddenly. "I told you. Dr. Remy." "No. I mean all of it. You could have left us at Carl's. You could have given us supplies and directions and saved yourself. But you're risking your life for a white woman and a baby you don't know. Why?" Wakiza was quiet for a long moment. 2 years ago, I believed I could protect my family by staying out of the white man's world. I thought if we just kept to ourselves, kept moving, we'd be safe. But Ayasha got sick, and I learned that isolation isn't safety. It's just slow death. He met Anna's eyes. My brother Yellow Hawk learned the wrong lesson from Ayasha's death. He thinks survival means joining the people who hurt us, working for the army, becoming useful to them. But that's not survival either. That's erasure. Then what is survival? This: choosing to act when action matters. Protecting those who need protection, even when it costs something. He finished applying the poultice and sat back. My grandfather taught me that a man isn't defined by his blood or his tribe. He's defined by what he does when he has a choice. Anna's throat was tight. "I'm glad you chose to help us." Something shifted in the air between them, not romantic, not yet, but the first stirrings of genuine connection. 2 wounded people recognizing each other's humanity across the boundaries their worlds had drawn. The moment broke when Miriam whimpered. Anna quickly buttoned her dress and picked up her daughter. As she rocked the baby, she noticed Wakiza had turned to stare out the broken window, his body tense. "What is it?" "We need to move, now. But we just smoke. South of here, less than a mile. They're tracking us." They were moving within minutes, the brief rest forgotten. Wakiza erased their tracks as best he could, but the ground was too frozen, the snow too thin. They would leave a trail. As the sun rose, they crested a ridge and saw it below them, Spearfish, a collection of wooden buildings huddled in a valley. Smoke rose from chimneys. People moved in the streets. Civilization, such as it was. But between them and the town, riders moved across the landscape, Mallory's men cutting off the direct approach. "We'll have to circle around," Wakiza said. "Come in from the north." It took hours. Hours of crawling through snow and rocks, of hiding when riders passed too close, of silencing Miriam when she grew fussy. By the time they reached the edge of town, it was late afternoon, and Anna was shaking with exhaustion. The telegraph office was a small building on the main street. Through the window, they could see a young man bent over the telegraph key, his fingers moving with practiced rhythm. "That's Eric," Wakiza said. "I recognize him from trading trips." "How do we get to him without being seen?" "The back door. I'll go first, make sure it's clear." But before Wakiza could move, a hand fell on his shoulder. "Hello, brother." Wakiza spun to find Yellow Hawk standing behind them, dressed in Army Scout's buckskin. His face was grim. "I wondered if I'd find you here." Yellow Hawk continued in Lakota. "Jim Mallory hired me to track a runaway woman and the Indian helping her. He's paying good money. Anna's heart sank. They'd come so far, survived so much, only to be betrayed by Wakiza's own brother. But Wakiza was smiling a small, sad smile. You were always a terrible liar, Yellowhawk. Yellowhawk's stern expression cracked. I'm supposed to bring you to Mallory's men. They're waiting at the saloon. Are you going to? I should. The money would feed my family for a year. But Yellowhawk looked at Anna, at the baby in her arms, and something ancient and painful moved across his face. But I keep seeing Ayasha. Keep thinking about what Dr. Remy did, refusing to help her because she was just an Indian child. Keep wondering if my daughter would still be alive if someone had been willing to risk something to save her. She's gone, brother. You couldn't save her. I know. But maybe... Yellowhawk's voice broke. Maybe I can save someone else's child. Maybe that's how I honor her memory. The two men embraced, and Anna saw tears on both their faces. The telegraph office has a back door, Yellowhawk said when they separated. I'll watch the street. You have maybe 10 minutes before Mallory figures out I'm not coming back with you. They moved quickly. The telegraph office's back door was unlocked. Inside, Eric Larson looked up from his equipment, startled. Don't send, Wakiza said quickly, showing his empty hands. We need help. Eric's eyes went to Anna, to the baby, and understanding dawned. You're the one Mallory's hunting. Yes. Carl Virgil said you're collecting evidence against Dr. Remy's trafficking ring. We have something you need. Anna pulled out the ledger. This is Remy's private record. Names, buyers, partners, everything. Eric's hands trembled as he took the ledger. He flipped through pages, his face growing paler. Sweet Jesus. This is bigger than I thought. These initials, some of these are prominent men. Territorial officials, a judge, a territorial legislator. Can you get it to your investigator? Wakiza asked. I can send a coded message to Tom Brennan in Rapid City. Tell him to come immediately. But Eric looked up, his expression troubled. This is going to take time. Maybe days before he can get here with legal authority. Can you stay hidden that long? We don't have days, Anna said. Mallory's men are in town right now. As if summoning them, the front door burst open. Scarface Sam, somehow still alive. Despite his wounds, stood framed in the doorway, his rifle pointed at them. Knew you'd come here, Sam snarled. Nobody move. But Yellowhawk moved. He'd entered through the back door behind them, silent as wind. His knife found Sam's throat before the man could turn. Go, Yellowhawk said calmly as Sam collapsed. I'll hold them here. Brother, go, this is my choice. Wakiza grabbed Anna's hand, and they ran bursting out the back door into an alley. Behind them, gunfire erupted, Yellowhawk making his stand. They ran through Spearfish's back streets, Miriam crying, Anna gasping with pain. Ahead, a church wooden white-painted doors open. There, Wakiza said. They ducked inside. The church was empty, dim. Pews stretched toward an altar. Sanctuary, the old concept of safety within holy walls. But sanctuary didn't stop Jim Mallory. He entered through the front doors with two men flanking him. His face was cold with fury. End of the road, Anna, Jim said. Give me the ledger. Eric already has it, Anna said, forcing strength into her voice. It's over, Jim. Nothing's over until I say it is. Jim raised his rifle. Now we can do this easy. You give me that ledger, tell me what Eric knows, and I let you live. Or we do it hard. If you kill us in a church, the whole town will know. Jim laughed. This town will believe what I tell them to believe. I'll say the Indian was robbing the church and you were his accomplice. I'll be the hero who stopped you." He was probably right. Anna knew how this world worked. Jim Mallory was respectable, wealthy white. She was a German immigrant with no papers. Wakiza was an Indian who would question the story. But then from the doorway, a new voice. "I would." Dr. Klaus Remy stepped into the church, but something was wrong. Anna blinked, confused. The doctor looked different, younger. His face was similar but not identical. "Franz," Jim said, equally confused. "What are you doing here?" Franz Remy, because this was not Klaus, smiled coldly. "Cleaning up my brother's mess as usual. Klaus has become sloppy James, leaving ledgers where they can be stolen, creating evidence that could expose our entire operation." He pulled out a revolver. "I'm afraid this partnership has become too risky." "You can't." Franz shot Jim Mallory in the chest. Jim fell, blood spreading across his shirt. His men raised their rifles, but Franz shot them too quick, efficient and motionless. Then he turned to Anna and Wakiza. "Now," Franz said pleasantly, "let's discuss how this ends." Part 6. The Brother's Shadow. Anna's mind reeled. Twins. Dr. Klaus Remy had a twin brother. The mysterious FR in the ledger, Franz Remy. Not a partner, a brother. A shadow operator who'd stayed invisible while Klaus built his respectable medical practice. "You're surprised?" Franz observed, his gun never wavering. "Most people are. Klaus and I learned early that two faces are better than one in our line of work. He plays the respectable doctor in Whitewood. I manage the distribution network across the territories. It's quite efficient." "You're monsters," Anna said. Her voice shook, but with rage now, not fear. "We're businessmen. There's a demand for what we supply. We simply fulfill that demand with maximum efficiency and profit." Franz's eyes flicked to Miriam. "The baby is worth good money. Blonde infants are rare commodities in the frontier territories. I could get $3,000 for her in Denver." Something feral awoke in Anna. She'd survived Jim Mallory's beatings, Dr. Remy's cold calculations, a blizzard that should have killed her. She had not survived all of that to let this man take her daughter. "You'll have to kill me first." "That can be arranged." Franz raised his revolver. Wakiza moved. He was faster than Franz expected, but not faster than a bullet. The shot caught Wakiza in the side, and he went down hard. "No," Anna screamed. Franz walked toward her gun, aimed at her head. "Last chance. Give me the baby and I'll let you live. You're damaged goods anyway, no value in the market anymore. But the child—" Anna threw herself backward, clutching Miriam as Franz fired. The bullet missed by inches. And then Eric Larson burst through the church doors, his own rifle raised. "Town Marshal, drop your weapon." But Eric wasn't the marshal, he was just a telegraph operator with a borrowed rifle. Franz knew that. He spun and fired. Eric dove behind a pew. In the chaos, Anna crawled to Wakiza. Blood soaked his shirt. His face was gray with pain, but his eyes were focused. "Can you shoot?" he gasped. "I don't know how." "Learn fast." He pressed his revolver into her hands. "Point. Pull trigger. Don't close your eyes." Franz was advancing on Eric's position, firing methodically into the pews. Wood splinters flew. Eric returned fire, but he was pinned down. Anna looked at the revolver in her hands. She'd never fired a gun in her life. She was a shopkeeper's daughter from Hamburg, trained in sewing and household management, not violence. But she was also a mother. She raised the revolver with shaking hands, aimed at Franz Remy's back, and pulled the trigger. The recoil nearly broke her wrist. The shot went wild, punching into the wall. But it made Franz spin around, and that gave Eric his opening. Eric's rifle cracked. Franz staggered, hit in the shoulder. His gun clattered to the floor. Suddenly, the church filled with people, townspeople drawn by the gunfire, the town marshal, a doctor. Chaos replaced the terrible focus of violence. Anna sagged over Wakiza, still clutching Miriam. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please stay with me." Not planning to leave, Wakiza managed. "Still owe you a conversation." The town doctor, not Klaus Remy, thank God, pushed through to examine Wakiza. Bullet went clean through. He'll live if we stop the bleeding. Franz Remy was dragged away screaming about lawyers and influential friends. But Eric had the ledger, and the telegraph had already clattered out its message to Rapid City. The evidence was beyond Franz's reach now. It was over. Or so Anna thought. Part 7. The Final Hunt. Wakiza recovered slowly. The bullet had missed vital organs, but he'd lost blood, and the wound kept him bedridden for 3 days. Anna stayed beside him, sleeping in a chair in the doctor's office, nursing Miriam and changing bandages. Eric visited daily with updates. Tom Brennan, the territorial investigator, was on his way from Rapid City. Franz Remy was in the town jail, and the marshal had sent riders to arrest Klaus Remy in Whitewood. "It's falling apart," Eric told them on the 3rd day. Once the ledger was decoded, the whole network started unraveling. "They've arrested the saloon owner in Deadwood who bought my sister. Found 6 women being held there. One of them." His voice broke. "One of them is Maria. My sister. She's alive." Anna gripped his hand. "I'm so glad." But that night, Anna had a terrible thought. She was feeding Miriam, watching Wakiza sleep, when the pieces suddenly came together in her mind. The coded ledger, Franz Remy's presence in Spearfish, the fact that Klaus had stayed in Whitewood rather than joining the hunt for her. "They were never both chasing us," she said aloud. Wakiza's eyes opened. "What?" "The twins. They were hedging their bets. Franz was trying to recover the ledger and eliminate us. Klaus was staying in Whitewood, maintaining his respectable cover, preparing to claim he had no knowledge of Franz's crimes. If one brother fell, the other could escape." Anna's hands trembled. "Eric, when the marshal sent riders to arrest Klaus, when did they leave?" Eric's face went pale. "This morning. They should arrive in Whitewood by. He's gone. Klaus Remy is already running." They were right. Word came back the next day. Dr. Klaus Remy had fled Whitewood during the night. His practice was closed, his house empty. He'd taken his money and vanished. "He'll head west," Wakiza said from his bed. He was stronger now, able to sit up. "He'll try to reach California, change his name, start over." "Can the marshal track him?" Anna asked. Eric shook his head. "Tom Brennan is still 2 days away. By the time he arrives and organizes a pursuit, Klaus could be anywhere." Anna looked at Wakiza. He looked back at her. The same thought passed between them. "No," Eric said firmly. "You're not going after him. You're both injured, you have a baby, and Klaus Remy is desperate and dangerous. He's also the only one who knows the full extent of the trafficking network," Anna pointed out. "Franz will cut a deal to save himself. He'll give up some names, but not all of them. Klaus has the complete picture. If he escapes, how many other women will be trapped in this system?" "That's not your responsibility." "Then whose is it?" Anna's voice was fierce. "I survived his operation. 17 other women in that ledger didn't. Greta is still missing. Maria was rescued, but how many others are still enslaved? If I don't act, if I just walk away because it's easier, then I'm complicit in what happens to the next victim." Wakiza swung his legs out of bed, wincing. "She's right, and I'm going with her. You can barely stand. Then I'll fall in the right direction." Eric looked between them, saw the determination in their faces, and sighed. "You're both insane. Fine, I'll get horses and supplies. But I'm coming too. Somebody needs to keep you two from getting killed." They left at dawn. The town doctor had given Wakiza enough laudanum for the pain that he could ride, though Anna made him promise to say something if it got too bad. Miriam traveled in a cradleboard that one of the Lakota women in town had made a gift for the white mother brave enough to trust our ways. Klaus Remy's trail wasn't hard to follow. He'd left in haste and he wasn't skilled at wilderness travel. They tracked him west toward the Black Hills, following horse prints and discarded supplies. On the second day, they found his horse lame, abandoned by the trail. Klaus was on foot now, which meant they were gaining on him. "He'll head for Deadwood," Wakiza said, studying the tracks. "It's the closest real town. He can get a new horse there, maybe disappear into the mining camps. Then we have to catch him before he reaches it." They pushed hard, stopping only to feed Miriam and rest the horses. Anna's body screamed in protest. Her ribs hadn't healed, and the constant riding was agony. But she kept moving. They found Klaus Remy at dusk on the third day. He'd tried to cross a river swollen with spring melt. His makeshift raft had broken apart, leaving him stranded on a small island in the middle of the torrent. He saw them on the bank and his face twisted with rage. "You!" he screamed over the water's roar. "You should have died in that blizzard." "But I didn't," Anna shouted back. "And now you're going to face justice for what you've done." Klaus laughed a wild, unhinged sound. "Justice? There's no justice for men like me. I have money connections, friends in high places. I'll buy my way out of this, like I've bought my way out of everything else." "Not this time," Eric called. "Tom Brennan has your ledger. He has your brother. He has testimony from a dozen victims. You're finished, Remy." "I'm never finished." Klaus pulled out a revolver. He'd kept his gun, at least. "I'd rather die than go to prison." He raised the gun to his own head. "Wait!" Anna's shout cut through the air. "Is that what you told Ayasha, a 4-year-old girl who needed your help? Did you tell her she wasn't worth saving?" Klaus froze. "You denied her treatment because she was Lakota." Anna continued, her voice shaking. "You let her die because her life didn't matter to you. And how many others, Klaus? How many women have you trafficked, sold, destroyed? How many lives have you ground up for profit?" "They were nothing," Klaus screamed. "Immigrants, savages, people nobody cared about." "I cared," Anna said. "Greta cared. Maria cared. Every person you hurt cared. We're not nothing. We never were." Klaus's hand trembled. For a moment, Anna thought he might actually pull the trigger, end it on his own terms, escape judgment through death. But then the island he stood on shifted. Spring flooding had undermined its foundation. The ground gave way beneath Klaus's feet. He screamed, scrabbling for purchase, but there was none. The river took him cold and swift and merciless. They found his body 2 miles downstream, caught on a fallen tree. A deputy U.S. Marshal arrived the next day and confirmed the identity. Dr. Klaus Remy was dead. Anna looked at the body and felt nothing. Not triumph, not satisfaction, not even relief. Just a vast emptiness where hatred had been living. "Is it wrong that I don't feel glad?" she asked Wakiza. "No. Revenge doesn't heal wounds. It just ends the bleeding." "Then what does heal them?" Wakiza took her hand. "Time, truth, people who care, living well." Part 8. The Testimony. Tom Brennan turned out to be a grizzled, heavy-set man with kind eyes and a methodical way of working. He arrived in Spearfish with a deputy and a stenographer, and he interviewed everyone involved. Anna told her story over 3 days, every detail from the false promises in Hamburg to the blizzard escape. The stenographer's pencil flew across the pages, recording it all. Sometimes Anna wept. Sometimes her voice went flat and distant. But she told it all. Wakiza testified about finding her, about Ayasha, about Carl Virgil's sacrifice. Eric testified about his sister, about the evidence he'd collected. Yellow Hawk, who'd survived the gunfight at the telegraph office with only a flesh wound, testified about his recruitment to track them, about his decision to betray Mallory instead. Franz Remy, facing a noose, gave up names to save his neck. Territorial judges, prominent ranchers, business owners, men who'd invested in the trafficking ring or bought women from it. The scandal exploded across the territories. Some of them will escape justice, Tom admitted to Anna on the last day. They have money for good lawyers, friends in high places. But enough will fall that the organization is broken. And the women you've helped free, 17 from the various locations we've raided, they're alive because you were brave enough to run. I wasn't brave, Anna said quietly. I was desperate. Bravery and desperation look the same from the outside. What matters is you didn't give up. The rescued women gathered in Spearfish, while authorities decided what to do with them. Anna met them one by one, Polish, Italian, Swedish, Irish, all with stories like hers. And there among them was Greta. Anna barely recognized her friend. Greta had aged a decade in 16 months. Her eyes were hollow, her body too thin. But when she saw Anna, something flickered to life in her face. Anna. Her voice was a whisper. They said you were dead. I'm alive. So is Miriam. So are you, Greta. We survived. They held each other and wept for the girls they'd been in Hamburg, for the dreams that had died, for the friends who hadn't survived. But also for the fact that they were still breathing, still capable of tears, still human, despite everything that had been done to them. What happens now? Greta asked. Now, Anna said firmly, we live. We build new lives. We help each other. We make sure no one else goes through what we went through. Tom Brennan helped with that. He connected the rescued women with legitimate settlement societies, with churches, with homesteaders who needed workers and would treat them fairly. Some chose to return to Europe. Others decided to stay in America to try again, with honest help this time. Greta chose to stay in Spearfish. Eric Larson had a small house, and his sister Maria needed a friend who understood what she'd endured. Greta and Maria moved in together, two survivors beginning the slow work of healing. Anna didn't know what she would choose. She had no money, no home, no prospects. She had a baby who needed stability and safety. She had broken ribs and nightmares. She had nothing but her life and Miriam's life, and the clothes on her back. And she had Wakiza. Part 9. The Question. Spring was coming to the Dakota territories. The snow melted, revealing brown grass and muddy earth. Rivers ran high with runoff. Birds returned from the south. The land was waking up. Wakiza's wound healed cleanly. By the second week, he could ride without pain. But he didn't leave Spearfish. He stayed helping where he could, checking on Anna daily. They talked long conversations about everything and nothing. About Hamburg and the Lakota homeland. About mothers and fathers, siblings and friends. About what it meant to survive when others didn't. About guilt and grief and the slow, painful work of building hope from ruins. One evening, as they sat outside the boarding house where Anna was staying, watching Miriam sleep in her cradleboard, Wakiza asked the question Anna had been waiting for. What will you do now? Anna had thought about this constantly. Tom Brennan had offered to help her reach Denver or Omaha, where there were German communities that might take her in. Greta had asked her to stay in Spearfish. Eric had mentioned a widow in town who needed a housekeeper. All reasonable options, all safe, all depressingly familiar, a single mother dependent on others' charity, forever marked by what had been done to her. I don't know, Anna admitted. I keep thinking about what I want versus what's possible. What I want is ridiculous, impossible. Tell me anyway. Anna looked at Miriam, then at Wakiza. I want land of my own. A place where no one can take my daughter from me, where we're not dependent on anyone's charity or tolerance. I want to build something that belongs to us, not because someone allows it, but because we made it. She laughed bitterly. But I have no money, no husband, no way to claim a homestead. So it doesn't matter what I want. Wakiza was quiet for a long moment. My grandmother's winter camp, he said finally. The canyon where I found you. The government surveys haven't mapped that area yet. It's technically unclaimed land. The Lakota are being pushed onto reservations. Our ways are ending, not by choice, but by force. Within 5 years, maybe 10, there won't be any free Lakota bands left. Wakiza's voice was heavy with sorrow. But that land, it's remote enough that no white settlers have reached it yet. Someone could build a cabin there, claim it before the government maps arrive, make a life there. Anna's heart was pounding. Are you saying, under the Homestead Act, a woman over 21 can file a homestead claim in her own name? A marriage could offer practical protection and more hands to work the land, but it isn't required. Either way, the land would be legally hers, protected by the same government that's destroying my people. Wakiza met her eyes. I'm saying that my grandmother liked you. She said you had courage and good sense. She said Miriam was blessed by the spirits. Wakiza, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. He took her hand. Anna, I won't lie and say I love you. I don't know if I do. We barely know each other. But I respect you. I admire your strength. And I think we could build something good together, a partnership, if not a romance. You'd have protection, legal standing land. I'd have... He paused. I'd have purpose again. A reason to stay in this world instead of just waiting for it to destroy everything I care about. That's not enough for a marriage. Maybe not. But it's more than many marriages start with, and we've already survived hell together. That's a better foundation than most people have. Anna's mind reeled. Marriage to a Lakota man would mean social ostracism from white society. It would mean a hard life on remote land without the support systems she'd expected to have. It would mean stepping even further outside the boundaries of respectability. But respectability had never protected her. White society had lied to her, trafficked her, nearly destroyed her. The only genuine kindness she'd received in America had come from Wakiza Istas and Carl people on the margins, people her culture said didn't matter. And the land Wakiza described remote, unclaimed, defensible, that was what she wanted. A place to raise Miriam in safety, a place to heal, a place to start over on her own terms. I won't be a traditional wife, Anna said carefully. I don't know Lakota ways. I'll make mistakes. And I can't promise I'll ever stop having nightmares about Jim Mallory. I won't be a traditional husband, Wakiza replied. I don't know white farming. I want to hunt and travel sometimes. And I still dream about Ayasha and wonder if I could have saved her. So we're both broken. Maybe that means we'll understand each other. Anna looked at Miriam, sleeping peacefully. Her daughter deserved a chance at a normal life. But what was normal? The normal life Anna had sought in America had been a trap. Maybe normal was overrated. Maybe what Miriam really needed was a mother who was strong enough to choose her own path, a father figure who would protect her and land where she could grow up free. Yes, Anna said quietly. Yes, I'll marry you. Wakiza smiled a small, genuine smile that transformed his face. Then we start over. Together. They were married 2 weeks later by a circuit judge who asked no questions about Wakiza's heritage or Anna's lack of documents. Tom Brennan stood as witness, along with Greta, Eric, and Maria. Istas traveled from her winter camp to bless the union in Lakota traditions afterward. It wasn't a love match. Not yet. But it was honest, and it was built on mutual respect. And that was something. Part 10. The New Life. They built the cabin that summer. Wakiza knew the land knew where to place a structure to avoid spring floods and winter winds. Anna learned to use an axe to strip bark to think log walls with mud and grass. Her hands blistered, then calloused. Her body grew strong from hard work. Miriam grew too. She learned to smile, to laugh, to grab at bright objects. Istas visited often, teaching Anna about plants and medicines, about raising children in the old ways. The old woman delighted in her great-grandchild, for that's how she thought of Miriam, despite the lack of blood relation. Yellow Hawk visited once, bringing supplies and news from the territories. He'd left the Army Scout Service and joined the Indian Police instead. Still working for the government, he admitted. But at least now I'm protecting our own people, not hunting them. He held Miriam carefully, his scarred face softening. She looks like Ayasha, he said quietly. Around the eyes. Thank you, Anna, for giving my brother another chance to be a father. He's been good to us, Anna replied. It was true. Wakiza was patient with Miriam, helpful with the endless work, respectful of Anna's boundaries. They still slept in separate bedrolls, still maintained careful distance. But they worked well together, and gradually something like friendship was forming. One evening, in late summer, as they sat outside the cabin watching sunset paint the canyon walls gold and red, Anna told Wakiza about Hamburg, about her real life before America, before everything went wrong, about her mother's laugh, about her father's watch shop, about winter markets and summer festivals, and the life she'd thought she'd left behind. Wakiza told her about Ayasha, not just her death, but her life. About how she'd loved to chase butterflies, about her laugh that sounded like water over rocks, about the way she'd insisted on sleeping with her toy horse every night. They were sharing ghosts, Anna realized, making space for the people they'd lost, allowing them to exist in memory, without pain. Do you think we'll ever stop hurting? Anna asked. No, Wakiza said honestly, but I think the hurt will become part of us instead of all of us. And I think we'll build enough good things that the balance will shift. That night, for the first time, Anna reached for Wakiza's hand. He squeezed back gently. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was a beginning. The letter arrived in early autumn, carried by a mail rider who'd gotten spectacularly lost trying to find their remote homestead. It was from Tom Brennan. Dear Anna, thought you'd want to know Franz Remy hanged last month. Didn't repent, didn't apologize, went cursing everyone to his last breath. Good riddance. More importantly, we found 16 more women in locations Franz gave up before he died. All freed now, all getting help. One of them was your friend Greta's cousin. She'd been looking for Greta for over a year. They've been reunited. The trafficking ring is broken. Some of the powerful men who funded it got away. But enough faced justice that no one's likely to try this operation again anytime soon. You did that, Anna. You and Wakiza and Eric and Carl. You broke them. Also found records that your entry at New York was legal even if everything after was kidnapping. You're not a fugitive or illegal immigrant. You're documented, free and clear. Build your life. You've earned it. Tom Brennan Anna read the letter 3 times, then handed it to Wakiza. He read it silently, then nodded. It's over, he said. It's over, Anna agreed. That night she had nightmares again, Jim Mallory's face, Dr. Remy's cold smile, the wagon's cage box. But when she woke gasping, Wakiza was there offering water, speaking quietly, until her breathing slowed. "Thank you," Anna whispered. "We protect each other." Wakiza replied simply, "That's what we do." Winter came, and with it, isolation. They were snowed in for weeks at a time, just the three of them in the small cabin. It should have been claustrophobic, but Anna found she didn't mind. The cabin was warm, Miriam was healthy, Wakiza was good company. And one night in deep winter, when a blizzard howled outside, so like the blizzard that had nearly killed her, Anna realized she wasn't afraid anymore. She'd survived the worst the world could throw at her. She'd built a life from nothing. She'd learned she was stronger than she'd ever imagined. "What are you thinking?" Wakiza asked. He was repairing snowshoes by the fire while Anna nursed Miriam. "I'm thinking," Anna said slowly, "that I don't hate my life anymore." "That's new?" Wakiza smiled. "That's good. Is it enough just not hating it?" "It's a start. The rest comes with time." Spring returned, and with it, visitors. Greta and Maria rode out with Eric, bringing supplies and news. They stayed a week, helping plant crops, sharing stories, building the fragile network of friendship that would sustain them all. "You look happy," Greta said one evening as they watched Miriam toddle around the cabin. "I'm not sure I know what happy feels like anymore," Anna admitted. "But I'm content, peaceful sometimes." "Is that enough?" "It's more than we had a year ago." That was true. A year ago, Anna had been Jim Mallory's prisoner, believing she'd die in that ranch house. Now she had landed a home, a daughter who was thriving, and a husband who respected her. Was it love? Not yet. But it was growing into something: trust, partnership, genuine affection. One evening in late spring, Wakiza returned from hunting with a small bundle. He unwrapped it to reveal a silver locket, tarnished but intact. "Found it in an abandoned trapper's cache," he said. "Thought Miriam might want it someday. Something she can put a picture in, something that's hers." Anna took the locket, feeling its weight. "Thank you. That's thoughtful." "I was thinking," Wakiza said carefully, "that someday Miriam will ask about her father, about where she comes from. I'll tell her the truth, as much as she can understand at whatever age she asks." "And what will you tell her about me?" Anna met his eyes. "I'll tell her you saved our lives, that you gave us a home, that you chose to protect us when you didn't have to, that you're a good man." "Am I?" Wakiza's voice was uncertain. "I couldn't save Ayasha. I couldn't stop my brother from leaving. I couldn't—" Anna took his hand. "You saved me. You saved Miriam. You've built this life with us. That's not nothing, Wakiza. That's everything." Something shifted in that moment, some final wall coming down. Wakiza pulled Anna close, and she went willingly, resting her head on his shoulder. "I think I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "Is that allowed?" Anna laughed, a real laugh, surprised and genuine. "I think I might be falling in love with you too. Yes, it's allowed." They sat together as the sun set, holding each other, while Miriam played at their feet. Tomorrow there would be work, planting, building, preparing for the future. There would be challenges, hardships, moments of doubt. But for now, in this moment, Anna Hesse, Anna Wakiza, now she supposed was exactly where she was supposed to be. She'd traveled thousands of miles from Hamburg. She'd survived hell. She'd lost everything and rebuilt from nothing. And she'd learned that home wasn't a place you were born. Home was what you built with people who chose to stay. The Dakota wind sang through the canyon, carrying the scent of pine and possibility. Miriam laughed, chasing a butterfly through the grass. Wakiza squeezed Anna's hand. "Thank you," Anna said softly. "For what?" "For finding me in that blizzard. For not leaving me to die. For giving me a chance to start over." "Thank you," Wakiza replied. "For teaching me that ending aren't always endings. Sometimes they're beginnings in disguise." Above them, the sky stretched infinite and blue. Below them, the earth was solid and real. Between them, a child laughed safe and loved. It wasn't the life Anna had imagined in Hamburg. It wasn't the America she'd been promised. But it was real. It was hers. It was enough. And that Anna thought was a kind of victory all its own.